I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I'm calling to order and convening our public hearing on the 2018-2019 General Fund budget here tonight at Seven Oaks Elementary. And with that, for a budget overview, I'd like to call on Mr. Lynn Richardson. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Chairman Gant, members of the board. I guess you guys probably want to come out here and join me in the audience because we're going to bring this screen down and go through this presentation. I can't help it. Thank you. We're here to talk about the 2018-2019 proposed general fund budget for School District 5. And as usual, I'll do my disclaimer. Just want to let you know that everything that's in this budget is based on the Senate version of the Appropriations Act that's currently at the state level. And I'll talk about the timeline on a state budget a little bit later on. Just to let you know, these are the recommendations that you saw in our last meeting when we discussed the budget. The items that you see highlighted in blue are really I'm just highlighting the ones that are probably going to be discussed in conference committee because they're different in the House version of the budget and the Senate version of the budget. Obviously, the first one is the base student cost. The House has offered up the same base student cost as we currently have of $2,425. And the Senate has put in the budget $2,485. The Senate has also mandated a 1% teacher salary increase, cost of living, which is 100% funded through the Education Improvement Act funding. The teacher raise in the House version is 2%, and it is partially funded. And the other big difference is really not that big of a difference, is both versions of the budget do plan on paying for the employer health insurance premiums, although there is a difference in the amount of money on the line. The House has $56.4 million and the Senate has $59.4 million. A couple other differences in this budget that aren't reflected here, but I think you need to know about, is there is some discussion on how we're going to count pupils in poverty. The House continues to use the 2014 definition and numbers, which gives us a little bit less money, quite honestly, and the Senate is planning on changing the definition of poverty to include Medicaid, SNAP, TANF, homeless, and transient students, and foster care students. There's also a difference in the earnings limitation that's currently in the law for the South Carolina retirement system. The Senate has not included any change to that. The House is actually suspending it for 1 year by proviso. And then there's another thing on the applications of the earnings limit, easy for me to say. The House has done nothing with it. What the Senate has done is actually prohibited a school district or any state agency from hiring people through a third party, like a temporary service agency, to bypass the $10,000 earning cap. And just so you know, that could affect some of our potential substitute teachers in the upcoming years. As I mentioned before, this budget includes we have budgeted for the following considerations: the 1% increase in the employer contributions for retirement, the employer health insurance premiums anticipated to go up 7.4%. We've got a mandated 1% cost of living raise for teachers. We're also doing 1% for all the district employees. All eligible employees will also receive a step increase for experience. And then we obviously are adding additional staff to keep us in compliance with our board policies. And then we also wanted you to know that in the current budget for FY18, we had budgeted for a rather large payout for Terry participants who would be ending Terry at the end of this fiscal year, which is a non-recurring expenditure, which has helped us in the FY19 budget. And obviously, we have to take into account the expansion of Chapin Middle School. Our budget includes several different increases in number of employees. We've added 1 guidance counselor, 3 behavioral interventionists, 3 academic interventionists, and 1 math interventionist specifically for Irmo Middle School. We've got 4 career development facilitators and 1.5 additional teachers for a cost of $821,513. We also have additional support staff. We have 3.2 teaching assistants, a half of a school nurse, and 1 custodian for a total of $210,536. We've also included additional school resource officer for the center. We've also, for a cost of $90,000, we've increased the cost for our school resource officers. Cost is going up to the tune of $165,000. We've got an additional contracted mental health case managers for $100,000. We've increased contract days for our safety officers from 190 days to 240 for a cost of $17,483. We also propose eliminating the 12% salary reduction for returning retirees. We're asking for a $500 loyalty bonus for all district employees for a cost of $1,479,730. And then, of course, all of the salary increases and the step increases and the credential changes, the terminal leave payouts, fringe benefit increases, all that totals $2,165,241. So our budget is projected to increase $5,450,696, or 3%. Here are our projected expenditures by classification: salaries of $115,723,298, fringe benefits cost of $49,030,798, our contracted services $12,620,046, supplies and materials, $8,626,172, and our other objects of $1,053,843, and then all of our transfers and payments of $287,897 for a grand total of $187,342,054. This is just a graphical representation of what I just discussed, but you can note that our salaries and fringe take up about 88% of our budget for next year. Now comes the hard part, the projected general fund revenue for next year. We're looking at our local taxes, $66,646,550. Penalties and interest on our taxes of $277,000. Fee in lieu of taxes, $1,320,000, and other local revenue of $730,000 for a total local revenue in this budget of $68,973,550. State revenue, we're looking at bus driver salaries and workers' comp for bus drivers of $1,261,740. Our state benefit, fringe benefits funding, $23,577,801. Our Education Finance Act funding of $42,323,678. Property tax relief, aka Act 388 funds, Tier 1, $10,580,071. Tier 2, $1,758,200. And you'll notice these did not change from year to year, though Tier 2 and Tier 3 have been frozen at their current levels. Excuse me, Tier 1 and Tier 2 have been frozen. Tier 3 is the big one. Tier 3 is $31,062,365, and then other state revenue of $1,918,738 for a grand total of state revenue of $112,482,593. I do want to mention that this is all subject to change depending on what happens with the poverty factor and also what happens with the base student cost once we know what those final numbers are. Obviously, there are two versions of the budget floating around right now, and there's not much discussion going on. But I'll let you know that, if the old poverty factor is put back into the budget, that would probably lower our base student cost because there'd be more weighted pupil units statewide, which means you'd have to spread that money over a wider range of students. And if it changes, then our property tax relief Tier 3 will probably be reduced because there is a poverty factor associated with that as well. It would, I'm guessing, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $100,000 we would be reduced if the new poverty factor is indeed passed in the final version of the state budget. The remainder of the revenue that we're projecting next year is the indirect cost of $290,000, transfer from EIA. This is where I talked about the teacher salary 1% being funded. This is the line item where that's coming from, $5,595,911 for a grand total of $187,342,054. This is just broken down to you graphically so you can see it a little better. So what does it come down to? Right now we're projecting, with things the way they are as of May 16th anyway, to be able to balance this budget with the items that I mentioned earlier included in it. Now, if we were to add another 1% to this budget, as it's been proposed by the House, it's going to cost this district an additional $1,379,516 in order to do that. And I thought you needed to know that because if we come back with a different version of the budget, obviously we'll have to amend it, and this will increase our expenditures. Correct. We already have the 1% in there. This is just adding an additional 1%. This gives you, by law, what we can raise millage-wise if the need arises. So we would be able to, according to what the law says, raise 7.6 mills. Talk about the state budget calendar. We're already past May 10th, obviously, and we don't have a state budget, so disregard all that. This is the revised calendar. You can disregard this one as well. The conference committee met, I think, briefly 2 days last week. The differences were so great they decided not to meet again until after the primaries. So we expect to hopefully have a budget coming out of conference committee by June the 27th. The General Assembly is coming back on June 27th and 28th. Those are the last 2 days that they're planning on coming back. I don't know what that means if the governor were to veto any of the line items. I don't know what that means if they'd come back at some point in the summer to take those up, or I guess it depends on the importance of them, or whether or not they just wait till January to take them up. Here's our calendar. Obviously, we're here tonight on May 21st, looking for our final reading, and we're having the public hearing right now. I'm not sure, other than to tell you right now, by passing this budget, if the General Assembly does come back, or they will come back, obviously, but if they come back with a budget that's drastically different from what we've talked about, then what we will do is come forward with you with an amendment to our budget to do, you know, if they move forward with 2%, obviously we'll come back and for approval at a later date once that's done. Hopefully before the end of the fiscal year, they'll have it done, and we'll come back in July to amend our budgets. And that is the end of my presentation. I'm sure the applause was because I was done, but thank you.
Richardson, thank you for that presentation and that outlook on the timeline. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the public hearing on the 2018-2019 general fund budget. I know the board has some questions, and we have agreed to hold our questions to our budget discussions. This is our second or third time to get a look at it, but of course tonight we're going to take action on the budget. But with that, I would say that we've had two people to sign up for public participation regarding the budget tonight. And let me make sure I got these right. Okay. And at this time, I'll call on those two people to come and speak, and that would be Ms. Kim Murphy and Mr. Peter Lazan. You will be next, Mr. Lazan. These are questions regarding the budget. And I'll remind everyone, we'll keep our normal rules with public participation. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. Dr. Harris will keep the time, and he's got some reminders when the time is winding down. And your time starts right now. Thank you.
Good evening. Teachers.
Ms. Murphy, would you pull that microphone up because we cannot hear you?
Sure. Thank you. Okay. Teachers and their principals are probably the most valued employees in this district, and their principal actually stands for principal teacher. But I'm wondering why teachers aren't paid more for the work that they do, and valued more for the work that they do, the value is representative, I think, of the value you place on educating our children. And I'm wondering if you might be able to think about doing things differently, because we continue to build new facilities which cost more money to operate, which comes out of the same budget to pay our teachers. You also, with a new facility, have to hire additional staff members as part of it. Again, that comes out of the money to pay our teachers. I'm just wondering if you could just think about doing things differently if you feel there's a need for more capacity. But I'm puzzled at why teachers in this district aren't paid money, additional money or raises, because money is available. Every year you collect more money than you need to meet the expenditures in your budget. And every year you put that over-collected money into fund balance. The fund now has accumulated over $38 million. That's of the 2017 audit. So the way you budget for the next year is you take the expenditures in the budget from the current year and you add to them. but the current year's expenses that you use to calculate the next year's budget are actually overstated. And it's evident that it's overstated because every year you end up putting the overcollected tax dollars into fund balance. And that fund balance continues to grow. The bottom line is, if you are continuing to overcollect because your expenditures weren't as much as you budgeted, and also there are times when your revenue is under budgeted, so you collect more money than you budget, you should calculate an increase in salary for our hardworking teachers to show them they are valued and that you value the education of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Peter Luzon. I believe Mr. Luzon has some fellow teachers with him. So, Mr. Luzon, if you will introduce them, that would be fine. We won't start your time yet.
Okay. This is Hope Lights. She works at H.E. Corley. And this is John Kawamoto. He works at Ballantyne Elementary. He's one of our staff members. Today I come before you to ask, like I do almost every year, is there some room in the budget to give us a substantial raise? You use the cost of living increase to justify the millage increase, but you never use the cost of living increase to justify a salary increase. A lot of our staff folks do not have a living wage. A lot of them are working for under $20,000 a year. So can you imagine being a single parent and trying to raise a family on $20,000 a year? We talk about our wonderful benefits. They're not wonderful, folks. We pay a great deal for our wonderful benefits. I pay $200 a month for very large co-pays that I go to for any time I see the doctor. So yes, we're grateful that you cover the cost increase for the benefits, that the state covers it. We see the growth in the fund balance every year, and we're wondering, could there be room for a 3% raise? We love the bonus at Christmas time. We really do. But a percentage increase compounds, as you all know, and we would love that compounded percentage in our salaries. We would love that compound percentage in our retirement. If it were all possible, it's been over 10 years since we've had a substantial raise. Any raise we've had is always eaten up by cost of living. I'm speaking on behalf of all the members of Lexington-Richland 5 Education Association. I am the vice president. I have been working in Lexington 5 for over 17 years. In the last 10 years, my salary has been stagnant. Please, if you can, find your way to increase our salaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luzon, and the other teachers with you. That's the end of our public participation regarding the public hearing. And with that, I will declare that we're out of the public hearing on the budget 2018-19, and we will adjourn that portion of the meeting. But we will immediately, don't leave the room, we're going to convene our regular meeting, and I want to thank you all for being here. We're very late in the year, but a very exciting year. We have a lot of recognitions tonight.